talk with my dear colleague and friend Farzad Rahnavard, alias Farzad Hamburg.
Yeah.
And Farzad is a wonderful part of our team since almost 2 years now. In a few months, 2 years.
That's right.
And he's quite a humble person, so he has a whole lot of secrets. I some of them I even didn't know since a short while ago. And for that reason, it's great to shed some light into your fancy past, so to say.
Yeah, sure.
And probably we do the studio talks as usual. We talk a little while. I try to drag some information out of Farzad's nose. And when I'm done with that, you are happily invited to start throwing questions on us.
Awesome, yeah.
And we're gonna end with telling you a little bit about this new format we're going to start. So when I figured out that Farzad is not only a songwriter, he has quite some hits and world hits, etc. And so he's really a songwriter. We came up with the idea, why shouldn't we probably offer a nice seminar format to learn reverse songwriting with everything which comes with that. Basically, it would not just reduce to that. It would also include lots of other aspects of songwriting, arranging, and melody making, and word perfection, etc., etc. But we dig later into that. So just as a little introduction and a little teaser. So, Farzad.
Yeah.
How did everything start? How did you get into music?
I would say it started in a really early age from me. I started doing music when I was 4 years old. When I was 6, I had about approximately 6. Don't nail me on that. On the years, because it's a little bit like I'm really old right now with 41. So my parents always, you know the stories where your parents tell you, your mother or your father or your grandfather or grandmother tells you, like, when you were like in an early age you started to sing and do this and that and stuff like that. So I started really early. Whenever the family and in an Iranian environment, I'm German, I'm really privileged to be in this country, but my other family members are like still Iranian, coming from Iran where the Shah was and stuff. They come here to Germany and to other countries. The United States, California, for instance, is a big Iranian, I would say, a place where they play Iranian music and stuff like that. So, whenever we had like family meetings and stuff like that, it was always like, Farzi, can you sing for them? Can you do this? Can you do that? And stuff like that. And I figured out, or basically it wasn't me that figured that out, when I was in kindergarten, basically, I heard someone singing in a church. So a group of people and one young lady in particular. And it really took me, and I screamed at my mother, basically crying, I don't want to go to kindergarten, let's go into that church, I want to hear what's happening. And there was a beautiful teacher, a woman who said, you're too young. I think I was 5 years old or something. You're too young, but I will give you a chance when you're like 2 years old or stuff like that. So it's like really a fairy tale. And my mother remembered, they interchanged numbers and stuff like that. And when I was 7, I started singing in a church and doing a big choir. I did that till I was 13. And in school, I developed, this is not something that's from me. I think it's from one of the biggest songwriters ever, whose name is Max Martin. That's my absolutely favorite songwriter and producer and stuff like that. Nothing comes to this guy, but the one guy from One Republic, I forgot his name right now, who's doing a lot of songs. For instance, Bleeding Love is out of his mind. Ryan Tedder, thank you so much. I'm really in German. It would be really easier, but I try my best. So yeah, stay on that little trip with me on that one to find the right words. So Ryan Terry said something: when you wake up in the morning and you feel like singing, then you're a singer. When you wake up in the morning and you start to doing melodies and stuff like that, you're a top liner. When you wake up in the morning and you want to play soccer, then you're a soccer player, and so forth and so forth. And this is something that was always in my mind. So I always woke up and I had heard something in the radio and I didn't like it the way it was. Really arrogant. I always wanted to make the melody different because from my point of view, it was not like the fifth and the chorus and stuff like that. When I started to learn the theory behind it, then all of a sudden it all makes sense. Prior to that, it was just feeling, and then it made sense. And I had I think I was 5 or 6 or something, like nearly at that age when I started to go into the choir. My mother said, "You're playing all the time piano on the table, so we have to do something about that." And they were privileged to find a amazing Russian teacher who was still working with what is it called, with hitting people when they're not doing what he says, so I was on the key, boom, and I had one on, it hurts and stuff like that. So I think my mother wasn't aware of that situation, but yeah, the fingers hurt, and I learned a lot from him. He was a big guy who played in Russia. He played what was it called, concerts, big concerts with piano. He was a really big name at that time, and I was privileged to get to know him because my father was knowing a lot of people here in Germany, and therefore he was like really privileged to know this guy. And he said, "Okay, your kid has talent, and let's go for it." He was really like going for it and trying to teach me stuff. And you know how it is as a boy. It's always like when you start in the early age. Like I was like, you see my testosterone. I think I was 6 when I had a full beard. And I was interested in girls or whatever, and then it wasn't cool enough to, like with 13 and 14, when you come into that special phase of a boy, it was not cool enough to play piano. So I started to play bass a little bit and start to understand how the guitar has to sound and that chords are different on a guitar and stuff like that. And all like coming together, my parents always said they have the same structure, especially that the Iranian philosophy is really close to the German philosophy. It's always like you have to learn something proper, be a doctor. And the second thing is what you can be is the doctor. And the third thing is a doctor. And a dentist is not a doctor. So you have to be someone who helps little children and makes what is a chirurg called? Surgeon. Surgeon. Like one of the best surgeons in the world. When Michael Jackson needs you, God bless him, then he will call Farzi in Germany to come and do his stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So that's the thing. We had a lot of doctors, or we have a lot of doctors and stuff in the family. So I did pharmacy as well. So this stopped that a little bit, this thing, but I always had in mind doing music and writing and stuff. And one of the key points that I had in my mind was we were listening to basically the German country music, which is really big in Germany. Volksmusik, what is it called? Yeah. It's a German Schlager. Yeah, it's called basically country music. What's really big in our country. And my parents, just because of the fact that they wanted to learn perfect German, to speak like German, to integrate in that society in Germany, it was always on. And I found always like mistakes. I always said to my parents, my father was singing bass in Iran and my mother was singing sopran in Iran. So they know how music sounds and stuff like that. We were always surrounded by music. And I always said that doesn't sound right. He has to repeat that note and do that and do this and more staccato than legato and stuff like that. My parents said, "I don't have a clue what you're talking about." And I was really privileged to have a lot of teachers who were really behind me. Like one teacher was this beautiful woman, Katrina, who did the choir with me in that church till I was, I think, 13, 14. I quit that because it wasn't cool anymore, singing in a choir. You don't get a lot of girls. And not here in Germany. And I started to find everything else. So whenever I heard something on the radio, I asked myself, what were they doing, And when people came to me, this is a funny story. People come to me and say, "And Mariah Carey, she's such an amazing songwriter. You know, she's doing everything on her own. She's going in the studio, playing every instrument, singing that. You know, that was the belief that the people had in my age. And I knew from the start there were songwriters involved and stuff. You know, you had this CD in your hand or whatever, and you could read in the booklet who was writing the song, who was like a composer and stuff. And I was really firm with that. And one particular name that I adored and still adore to death, and I was really privileged to be really close to this guy, is Max Martin. This is, for me, this is like I would say, this is the Albert Einstein of music. Like this is crazy what this guy achieved and what he's capable of doing, because he has some specific techniques that he learned along the way, and I think it was always in him. And he had Dennis Pop, who made him really big, you know, at that time with Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and Ace of Base and stuff like that. They did it in Germany. This Cut and Night Joe song is co-written by Max Martin. People don't know that. This guy is a genius. So he was all over the place. And what I really adored about his music, especially his production and the songwriting as well, the production had always this tight kick and snare. I always say it's the SSL sound. If you ever worked on an SSL console, you put like 48 channels or something into an SSL console and drove the channels really hard, like to distortion, you know, you know that punch that comes with that SSL tone. That is something that, it's not that bass heavy though. It changes the whole spectrum a little bit more to the hearable area, not the feelable. It sounds so mid-rangey and punchy. That's the thing. And his sound was always like that. You know, it was this beautiful snare that he had a lot of space in the productions for Backstreet Boys, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney Spears. And I was fascinated with that. I was looking at these casting shows and stuff and visualizing, you know. I read an article about Jim Carrey, this is one of my idols, you know, from his mindset. And this guy said something like, when I got my first job in Hollywood, it was nothing. It was like $100 or something for that. And I was so like hyped about that job because he got a job. That's the only thing that he was, you know, curious about. And the thing is, he just went home. He got a fake check for himself, wrote 10 million on that check for a movie and put it into his pocket. And 5 years later, I think it was Ace Ventura or something, 10 million. So he visualized his future. And I always, you know, I was sitting, people were watching Pokemon and I don't know, that kickers and this soccer animes and stuff like that. And I was always like, oh, Making the Band is on. I have to watch Making the Band or Pop Stars or American Idol or whatever it's called, you know? Because I was fascinated on what will the sound be like, what will the song be like. And I really tried to focus on that one. And in the final stage, you won't believe it, I went to the Idol in Germany. It was 24,000 contestant, like in that area. And I was on the 9th place. I was the youngest contestant. And I just nailed it while I was doing my, Abitur?
High school.
High school, basically, finishing my high school and going for medicine. So it was all in between. I was privileged to be, there was a neat thing that I think should be more there. This is my, like, I love human beings. I'm that guy. I'm philanthrope or what is it called. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like, yeah, something like that. And I love that. That's why I wanted always to work with human beings, you know, animals, human beings. It doesn't matter. Someone who is like breathing or something, you know, that was always my aim. And I was privileged in high school. I had something that was the new thing that they wanted to make, like in the whole Germany. Munich started it first and Hamburg was the second one. It was students teach students, or children, better said. And it was not math, it was not, because we were no teachers, but when we did our college degree, high school degree, we could do 4th and 5th graders, and teach them in like, what is it called? Theater, in how do you become an actor? How do you have to act? Which methodic things are they, you know? you repeat one thing and stuff like that. All these things that you have. And especially it was called Medienkunde. This is something like media, basically. And this media thing was to show the little children, like 5th graders and 4th graders, that it's not always sunshine behind Britney Spears and that success. You know, when she is making her hair bald and the little children will say, crying, what is going on with her? There is something digging really deep in her. And we were privileged to do that. And those little children, they just made the entrance for me an idol. They just wrote my name with a whole bunch of parents and stuff into in German Idol, not American Idol, German Idol. And I was really privileged to get far. And so the whole thing, because the first Idol here, the song was Daylight in Your Eyes for No Angels, which was also in the Billboard charts. You know, this guy is called Thorsten Brötzmann. He's one of the greatest songwriters we have, producers here in Germany, one of the biggest names. And yeah, it was really big. This song was really big. They made a lot of million money. So therefore, I was really privileged to be there and know a lot of people. So the second season where I was boys and girls. And so I get to know people from Universal, Sony and stuff like that. So all that circle came in together, you know, and made this big circle. So at the end.
When have you started to write songs?
At an early age. I would say I was 10 or something. 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I started to take a pen and just, like, as I said, one of the sports that I did was, while I did sports or something, I was listening on my ear, like headphones or something, to music, or at home, I was always thinking about how would the songs change if I changed the chorus. And as a final exam for myself to get better and better, I sang over a melody. You know that situation where you have a melody like, oh my single ladies, and it's playing, and you cannot do something on top of that because all of a sudden you will get into that melody. It was a sport for me to do something totally different on top of that, but it has to be catchy as well. Isn't that funny? I think I heard it from some Swedish songwriter who was in the whole circle of Max Martin and the Chiron music and yeah, the whole thing. Yeah. That this is a technique they use to get melodies all over the place, because my philosophy is, and this is funny, you might ask yourself why, and I just really had that in my head, and I used that when I did Honeymoon in the United States. I went there. I'm really curious. I just rang the bell at the Tower of Jay-Z, yes, you hear it right, and said, I'm the lawyer of an artist. I'm telling you. And they let me through 3 doors. And then all of a sudden they rang and said he's nobody. And I just wanted to give my CD. It really works. If you're really curious and you know what you got. I always have the feeling, and that's why I'm coming back to Jay-Z, when Jay-Z rings on your bell, you know, and the door opens up and Jay-Z stands there doing this thing, you know, then he wants a song. Yeah, I need something for B, for my B. You know, for Beyonce, you have to be ready. You cannot say, I have nothing in my portfolio. And that's why I started really soon with making like folders for myself and just pretend and visualize. That folder is for Usher. That folder is for Beyonce. That folder is for like German, country. Everything. To get familiar with a lot of music. It doesn't matter if it's techno. It doesn't matter if it's EDM and stuff like that.
How many songs have you on stock?
Oh my God, yeah. And the Dropbox, I think the Dropbox is like the biggest one that you can buy. I think 200 gigs or something, or more, even 400 or something. And if you tell people that they buy Dropbox, you get always a gig on top of that. And I think like there were 4 years, I would say 4 or 5 years, where we did 1 or 2 songs a day. That means 365 songs multiplied by 5 or 6, and then you know where you are. That's like 2,000 songs or something. Probably more. And most of the time, it's also produced as well. So we had this big team in a time frame, or I think I was 18 or 19 when I did my degree, and then I had a team. I made a team with people that I adore and I love, like from school. one is a teacher, one is a lawyer, and stuff like that. And they were all privileged to be musicians. One could write really good lyrics. The other one was really good in woman feelings because she was a woman. When you write for a woman as a man, it's always difficult. It's not that easy because that's probably something that a woman doesn't say. You know what I mean? That's the problem. And so the team builds up, and all of that was made because of the fact that I heard it and read it and saw the interviews and everything. And you couldn't find a lot from Max Martin. And I was privileged to be in a studio. I think it was doing BOZ's, one of the albums that I did, of one of the biggest hip-hoppers here we have in hip-hop guys in Germany. And it went gold immediately. And I was in a studio of a person that I'm not allowed to say the name, but he's working instantly with, all the time with Max Martin. They work together. And he has an amazing studio here in Hamburg. People are not aware of that. And I had to sign something. Can I say it loud here? Yeah. I don't give a damn. You know, I had to sign something that I always stay quiet and don't tell who that is. Like ghost work and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that was crazy. And for the first time I heard Kelly Clarkson, the first song that went really huge for her. That was Since You've Been Gone. Produced and written by nobody else than Max Martin. That was basic my journey, and all of everything was on the side as well. You know, I was in a boy band, and the guy who made the boy band was the one who did, you know, Ice Age. The movie Ice Age. Is that called Ice Age as well? Yeah, it is. And the Sid, the figure Sid, who's talking like this. You know, the guy who's talking that in Germany is a really big name, one of the biggest names, Otto Walkes.
Yeah.
And so this guy, he's a comedian, and this guy is doing music as well. So everything came together. The whole connection thing was because of that thing. And I was in his boy band. He made a boy band. And after that that's so in my head. I always watch American Idol. After that German Idol, I came into his boy band. And so everything came together. You get to know a lot of producers. All of a sudden, Sony calls you and said, we have a new artist that sounds a little bit like Justin Bieber. You know how it is. They don't want anything new. You know, it's always like, can you make this song like Justin Bieber? I say, yeah, no problem. Okay, I do that. And so you get a name. And yeah. So I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I hope I'm not boring you guys. Yeah. That's another problem that I have.
Yeah, it's not such a big of a problem. Yeah, he's talking more than I.
It's impossible actually to talk more than him. I do it. No
you know my long cycles when you throw a question on me. However, he's even longer.
Yes, genius. Yeah. I have a good mentor.
I remember a story you once told when you were working in Stade, which is a city.
That's crazy.
45, 50 minutes remote from here.
Yeah.
While you were living here, so you were running a pharmacy there. Yeah. And then something happened on your way back.
Yeah, that's a crazy anecdote. I wasn't aware of that because if you have to think of the saying it in English, basically I was in Stade. It's really far away, and I worked there. I had to travel 1 to 2 hours with a car every day. And so what I did is I made myself everything on my handy, via Bluetooth, the tracks.
Phone.
Yes, cell phone, I'm sorry. On the cell phone. So the instrumentals that I created, the backing tracks that I created, produced. And I had them. And while I was driving behind a car who was driving, let me put it in miles per hour, 5 miles per hour, basically, nothing, walking, basically. I was behind that car, okay, when I'm arriving, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I started to write on those things. And there was one thing that I worked there for, I think, 6 or 7 years. And I'm telling you, it was crazy. Warner called me one day. It's not that way. Warner called me later. One day, a producer called me that was aware of the situation, that this name that we created spread a little bit. The songwriters, this crazy dude with this, and I had a lot of hair. Now I'm looking a little bit like Friedemann, you know. It's not quite there, but it's there. And I had a lot of hair, you know. And there's this crazy dude with this crazy hair. He looks like a hip hop guy, but he's aware of doing like pop music like nobody else, something like that. They spread it around Universal, Warner, Sony, and stuff like that. I made myself a name, you know, for being like always trying to be good with people and stuff like that, and really enjoying what I do. And now I was in this pharmacy, and all of a sudden, like I finished the pharmacy. I worked like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the evening, basically. So like, you know, I just closed the doors, and all of a sudden this producer called me and said, Farzad, I'm right now sitting in Sweden with Olas. And I said, with who? I don't know if I spelled the name right. I think it's Ola. I don't know. This is the guy who worked on moves like Jagger with Max Martin and Shellback. And he did, for instance, nearly the half of the album with Max Martin together, with that whole team, with that whole Swedish team from Akon. And he was one of my favorites, you know? And yeah, and he said, I'm in the studio. And I said, there's this crazy dude. And I was like, I told you, when Jay-Z rings the bell, you have to be ready. I didn't give a shit. I was so tired. So what did I do? I made myself a little coffee. I just put it in. And I was on the Autobahn coming back home to my little family to come back next morning at 4 o'clock to be ready and not be like fatigued, because people come and want their medicine. And if I give them the wrong medicine, they will be dead. So that's the problem that I have. I have to be always focused. So I'm in this car driving basically, 200 miles per hour, basically, like really fast. And they're chatting with me on the phone, and it was on. And it was playing the song. And I said, I got one. And they said, okay, just throw it out. And just made the chorus immediately while I was driving. And it was evening, like nobody was there, because it's, what is Dorf? Village. Is it a village?
Yeah, it's a small village.
It's a small village, basically. Coming to the town, like, you know, coming into that big town that we have. And yeah, and I nailed the chorus. And they called me next day and said, the chorus is amazing. We were looking for the right chorus and you nailed it. I was so full of adrenaline and I was so fucking ready, because I did a lot of music, a lot of songs, and you know how it is. If you have a melody, ba 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 ba, you can really change it, ba 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 ba, and it's basically starting from that. You know what I mean? You can like change immediately, and I could like nail it, and then everything was history. Because the song was called after the chorus I did. It was called Karma. I had this idea of karma. And so everything comes back to you if it treats somebody bad. You know, it comes back to you. You know, be aware of the situation, to treat people good, to be like that they treat you good. Something like that. And all of a sudden, then there was this tour bus. It went gold immediately. It was this little Justin Bieber guy. His name is Mike Singer. Here in Germany, he was really big. Like the everything sold immediately. Like every live concert and stuff. I was really privileged. And I went to that concert. They gave me that special VIP thing with my team, and I was there, and I thought, you have to come and stuff, and maybe we can sing together the song you wrote and something like that. It would be amazing to say this is one of my songwriters and stuff. And they had this big tour bus, you know, like I was seen on Blackstreet Boys, and so everything that I visualized, you know, and it was big on that Karma, the title that I created. It was like goosebumps all over the place. It was crazy. That's the moments you live for, basically. Especially if you're a songwriter, you have to like really struggle. It's that Rocky phenomenon, you know. It's not about hitting people. It's about getting hit and stand up. Get hit and stand up. That's the philosophy of my living, basically. That's what I teach my children, everybody that's around me, because it's so easy to do this, but to take it and then to wake up, and go again, you know, that's not that easy, basically. So,
yeah, guys, would you mind to throw some questions?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Farzad?
Yeah.
Well, you talked in the in the beginning about reverse songwriting, I
Yes,
think.
that's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, please elaborate.
Yeah, sure, no problem, my brother. Yeah, that's easy.
Because we can ask anything.
Yeah.
We can ask about weather, but I think
no, that's the main topic basically. I tell you something. Like from my experience, that is not something that I invented. It's common technique in songwriting. From my experience, the most thing that appears in a song, and it's the most appealing thing, that it's the most catchy thing, is the chorus. I think we would all agree. And if you see a song structure of pop music, basically, the chorus appears sometimes in the beginning as well as an introduction with filtered techniques and stuff like that. But it appears as the first chorus, let's say intro chorus, first chorus, then we have a second chorus, we have a third chorus, maybe a bridge in between, and the last chorus where the whole ad-libs are on top. So we have 5 times that element, approximately, sometimes 3 times, sometimes 4 times, to be aware of. That's the most important thing. And reverse songwriting means nothing else than you start with a chorus and then you go from there. Just imagine you have a girl or a boy in your environment, in your studio, and you want to make a hit for that particular person. Then the verses are not important. People don't remember the verses. There are songs where the verses are stronger than the chorus. It's intentional, though. But in most cases, it's the chorus, and you want to make sure, if you write for somebody, if you write for your own, that you nail the most important thing, like from the intention of really nailing it, singing it perfectly, and performing it perfectly. That's basically the chorus. And if you write
the perfect key for the
key,
singer,
for instance, and everything else, and that makes basically the reverse songwriting so capable of writing hits.
Yeah, and like going backwards from there and
to the verses.
Creating bridges and verses, which would be kind of related to the chorus, but probably somehow reduced or a variation or whatsoever.
Yeah, and be so easy, You can have a melodic verse though, and really jump with melodies. But most of the times, if you look at Ed Sheeran, for instance, one of the best songwriters there is, he is always like, the verses are always like really easy to sing along. And that means that when he has a particular chorus, I'm in love with your body, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, then he can do something like, let's go, let's dance, and then, I'm in love with your body, yeah. It always opens up. I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with your body. Yeah. That's the most important thing. And just to distract you for 1 second, that's the ayo part. It's that oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And again, I'm in love with your body. But that what happens in between, that doesn't count at all. It has to be as easy as possible in the verses, so that the chorus opens up. Some people don't have a big range, and therefore the jump to a 5th or the 7th in the chorus can be really intriguing, can be really wrong. You write something, and that's a thing that I didn't say in the German part, but I was aware of when I was in car. I wanted to say actually is never write a song or sing a demo better than the singer itself. Doesn't make sense because they get intimidated. You know what I mean? So you always try to take
yourself back.
Yeah, definitely. Put auto-tune on. It does sound. They have to know the idea. That's the only thing. And I say, when I go into Rihanna, when I go in the studio, I will nail it, man. Because the people who write for Rihanna, for instance, one is that's this beautiful girl who plays in Pitch Perfect. I forgot her name. I'm sorry, but name dropping. I'm that bad. I always remember Max Martin. And that girl in that Pitch Perfect is writing a lot of songs for her, and she's always taking herself back. I was privileged to hear a lot of demos from them, which Stargate makes and stuff like that. It's always like you get the idea, so when it's finished, it has to blow her away that she takes it as a single. Otherwise, if your demo singer kills it, then all of a sudden Adele says, okay, no, Aretha sang it before, as it's not for me. I'm sorry, I cannot hit the notes. That's the biggest problem. But yeah, this is to be aware of. But reverse means something like go from the the most important thing, and then go backwards to the verses. Because
I remember an old song. It was called "I Want to Know What Love Is." This big hit from.
How
it's a
I
very
know what
old
love
song.
is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody sang it in a competition in Finland a few months ago, and I listened to it. And then I listened to the original, and the verse was so boring as it just can be.
Yeah.
But the chorus is amazing.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah.
But still, I think the verse should be built to the.
Yes.
There should be a place for the verse also.
Yes.
Especially in the lyrics.
Yes. You're totally right.
Because in the chorus, you can't play with the lyrics. Sometimes you can, but not as much. You tell the story in the verse, and then you open the chorus. It's like
perfect.
It's a different world then. But yeah.
Perfectly said. And the thing is that I always try to make a cycle. Just imagine, Kim, that you have a roller coaster ride. One of the biggest songwriters ever wrote a book, who did a lot of songs, Ghost-wise and stuff. I forgot his name again. But this guy wrote something like, a song is always like a roller coaster ride. Just imagine how impactful that dropping of that roller coaster is, at Buffalo Bills, for instance, in the United States, where they have the biggest, I think they had, when I was doing Honeymoon, they had the biggest wood roller coaster in the world. And I think now the Japanese guys, or beat them, but they had it before. How impactful that roller coaster dropping, that climax is, the chorus basically, when you start low. When you start intermediate, it doesn't impact you that much because adrenaline is there. Noradrenaline is there. You get my point? That's my profession. Yeah. So that's basically the thing. So the lower you can make it, it's crazy because you're a guitar player, you know what I mean, or you're a piano player. See, this is like from musician to musician, we understand each other without even talking, and I'm talking a lot. That's the problem. What I wanted to say basically is just imagine you're a guitar player, you're a guitarist, and you go into a session. And some people want something from you, a little lick or something. Something like that. But he doesn't do because then you get distracted from that melody. So to keep it simple is the hardest thing. Usher, so dance like it's the last light. This repetition thing. There are some techniques that you can use, and that makes you makes you really great in doing songwriting, if you have that on your mind. I think songwriting is feeling, without a doubt. It's whatever comes in mind. That's why the first takes are always the best. Just play the music. Okay, I hear it. Do it all together. Oh yeah, it opens up. What a smash. Could be something for a girl or something, That's the first thing that comes up. I just made it up right now. See, the first thing. I couldn't repeat it perfectly, so we had to record it now to find the chorus part. That's the thing that is really tricky. Like the first ideas are the best. But if Jay-Z rings on your doorbell again and you out of ideas because you have a bad day, something happened in your family, God be aware that nothing happens in your families and in other families, but you get my point. You're in life and life is hitting you hard, then sometimes feeling doesn't work. You can't write something sad. He killed himself by jumping from that bridge. Yeah, okay, you can write that, but probably they want to have something happy. You know what I'm talking about? And then knowing the techniques is the right thing to do. So you have to do both. Feeling and knowing the techniques that you might use to really perfect that reverse songwriting skills.
Yeah, would have helped me so much when I was in my early 20s. I was also a little bit into songwriting, not so professionally, but as a guitar player and playing in a rock band, etc., I was more approaching songwriting from finding nice riffs and then find a line on that. And usually we would have started with the verses, and we always had very strong verses. And this brought us every time into trouble to create a hook line which is even stronger.
Yeah.
and we were always at risk to get a cheesy hook line because the verse was already so strong because of the very nice guitar riff, etc. And I would have been a lucky man knowing a little bit more about reverse songwriting.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the mindset at that time because my mindset was being a guitar player on the one hand. On the other hand, I was already a studio technician. And so I haven't had the songwriter mindset at that time.
Yeah.
But would definitely have helped.
Definitely, yeah. The thing is, that's why they come always in teams. If you look at the credits Max Martin gives to other people and stuff like that, it's always like 10 people wrote the song. You know, and even if they are not, you have to like always have this is this little degree and this percentage thing that you're aware of. So even if there are 10 people in there, you know that there were 20. Double that, you know, and they don't get the credits yet because they started. They're like the little ones starting with them, you know, and then when they do 2 songs, then probably Max Martin will give them a shot or something like that. I just made it up, but this urban legend could be really true, you know, due to the fact that what his purpose is, that people are really focused on that stuff. There are amazing stories about this guy. I love him to death. Is like him coming into a room. You know, the best songwriters in the world sitting there and then working on a song for Rihanna. And he says, okay, do me a favor, just switch the bass in the chorus like what's the terz?
1/3.
Yeah, 1/3 down. And all of a sudden that bass note with that melody they created opens really that imagination of what it should be rather than having a clue of what it might be. Isn't that crazy? Just one arcing bass note. You know, that's why chord progressions are so important. There are some chord progressions that work all the time. Bum, 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 bum. This is the bass of one of them. Bum, 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 bum. I can tell you a million songs. Ed Sheeran said it in one of his interviews. Give me the best songs that you know, and I play it with 4 chords all the time, and they open up. That's what they say.
It's true.
It is. It is basically. It's crazy. Sometimes it has a different timbre. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, with the tools you have these days, like RX or whatever, for isotope, you take the song away from a tune and then start to sing your own thing there. And
it's crazy, isn't
it? Again, then you can make a song.
Yeah. AI is coming, man. It's coming for us. So we have to be, you know, whenever AI, I mean Jay-Z, is ringing the doorbell, we have to be ready. Yeah, you have to use those tools for your benefit, you know. Isn't it crazy? Why shouldn't you use that? That's not cheating at all. That's going with the time. That's going with the future. That's something else, you know. But being aware of that situation makes it really handy. And I was always really concentrated. I was always like a guy who was really privileged. I have never suffered about like money and stuff like that. You know, Corona was there. We as the pharmacist guys, I don't have to tell you. It was like getting the money with a schaufel, like doing this, you know, where other people had to struggle. So we were really privileged. And my father taught me one really beautiful thing is like you always give 100%, not less than 100%. And I said, why? Sometimes you cannot give 100%. He said, you can. You have to just work on that to give 100%. But the thing is, if it doesn't work, you know, even if you gave 100%, you're not like thinking of what if. What if is the worst thing ever, from my point of view. Oh, that was disappointment. What if I went there, you know? And so, yeah. Mm-hmm. And another anecdote of Blasterjaxx I have to tell you guys. This is a big one. This is a really big one. I asked my beautiful wife, what should we do for honeymoon? Where should we go? Like the Maldives or like, I don't know, Japan, I don't know, China or something, you know. China probably, okay. That's a different thing. And she asked me, where do you want to go? And I say, Scandinavia could be a really beautiful place, like there, or the United States. You have to see the United States because I was there and I was studying in the United States, in Florida. And she said, yes, I wasn't there, and why not? And we did like West Coast, East Coast thing, and then we went to Las Vegas. And when we went in Vegas, I had like the honeymoon suite or something, and it was a really nice suite in the Caesar's Palace. I'm telling you, it was really nice. I said, okay, no, like taking back on money. I have to, this is my beautiful wife. I wanted her to remember and stuff like that. I was really like the guy who drove a Volkswagen, was pretending he was really rich, and I did my thing. Okay. So we were there. And I went there and I said, yeah, and the people from the United States, they're so nice and so kind and stuff like that. When something doesn't work, they always find something for you, And they said to me, this is what I encountered when I was in the United States. And they said something like, yeah, we're so sorry, man. It's something, we did something wrong. It's like, we just upgraded you to that amazing suite where like Leo DiCaprio and stuff. And I said, yeah. What, do I have to take my pants down, or what do I have to do to get it? You don't have to pay extra. And I said, what? I said, yeah, it was our mistake and stuff like that. So we went to that suite, and I was really, my wife was like, oh my God, okay, what did you do and stuff with the drunken sailor? I said, I didn't pay it. They were so nice and upgraded us. And I was in the bathroom. That is the basic story. I just always make it a little bit bigger than it is, okay? See that it's with a good introduction. And the story is, I wrote a song with my team. It was basically my top line, what we always shared and stuff like that. Faith from Blasterjaxx. And Blasterjaxx was not known. There was a DJ team from the Netherlands. Really beautiful guys, beautiful people and stuff like that. And there was this time where like Avicii was really big. And this big room stuff was really big, like Tomorrow World, Tomorrowland and stuff like that. They had a lot of gigs all over the place, made a lot of money and stuff like that, and went really good in the charts. And most of the times they have just an instrumental where the people are doing this, and Tomorrow World, something like that. And they said, okay, the record company said, Sony said, okay, it's awesome, but we need a top line. We need something with a singer on it. And I said, okay, why? Yeah, because it would sell more. When people, even if they're not in big room, it would sell more. It will get more commercial. Commercial. Okay, so we wrote that Faith song, and we heard that they played it in the United States, but you're not there, and said I was there. And I'm really telling you this after business meeting. Thanks for your insights and stories, Father. You're welcome, my brother. And I was in the shower, and my wife was yelling like that. I don't know, a snake or something went on her or something. And I went out of that shower barely wearing anything, looking like the hairy guy from the neighbors. And I went on the balcony, and they were singing like, I think, 50,000 people. Basically, there was a big show coming up. We're singing that song that I wrote, and the goosebumps, it went up to that suite, like up there. It's a thing. Whenever you're on the stage, you totally know the feeling that I'm telling you. You're doing your acting or you're doing your musician thing, and then all of a sudden, for a microsecond, it gets quiet, and then the whole audience makes like whoa, that wave that comes to you. It gives you goosebumps all over the place, and that was that situation. And from there, I knew that I had to do this. That was really amazing for us. Really, I'm telling you. That's so crazy if you have those kind of things. And people are singing on a YouTube video like Tomorrow World. They're playing that act with that vocal on, and they decided to do it with a vocal, although the people there said, no, we don't want it with vocals, just play it like the instrumental, like you do it all the time. They said, no, I play the vocal version, and like 100 or 200,000 people are singing your song. And they know the lyrics. As we get up, the sun goes down, and it's like shaking. I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Yeah,
wonderful story.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Probably we enter a little bit into speaking a little bit about the format.
Yeah.
And the idea we have is basically that for those who want to attend this seminar, would show up with a sketch of a song. So it would be not a good idea to start with nothing.
No.
Because basically it's not, you don't want Farzad write the song for you. No, so you want to come up with a song idea, with riffs, with a basic arrangement whatsoever. Probably as a stereo mix, probably in form of a few stems, which would make sense, so that Farzad has a little bit more ability to mute things and to play with the keyboard on that and say, okay, what if you do the bass line different here, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, we would have 11 appointments, which would go 90 minutes, 30 minutes pause, 90 minutes. So that we have on the first appointment, on the first day, we would have 90 minutes for the first song, working through the first song, pause, 90 minutes working through the second song.
Mm-hmm.
And we would do that 5 times, so that we work through 10 songs, basically. And everybody would have enough time. As usual, you guys receive the recording of the session, so that you can digest the ideas and try to kind of bring it into your song. And then there would be a second round, would be equally as the first round, so 90 minutes for the second round for everybody. And then there's hypothetically one session left where everybody could present his final version of the song, basically, and say goodbye, happy ends. And hopefully so one question which would arise most likely is, what about Farzad's input? We spoke about that, and so basically no strings attached. So the songs would belong to you, whatever input would come. And for those of you who already know our coaching setup, you know from the mixing and mastering coaching setup that automatically the talkback connection is ducked as soon as we play something from the DW. But I have kind of a nice custom built little thingy, which is going to be connected here with the
hitmaker button.
The hitmaker button. Yeah. So it's our buzzer, basically. Now it's going to be a 2-channel mute function, and we will have a different kind of setup here in the sense that the playback would not duck the talkback, so that Farzad can sing on top of that. And the playback would just be a little bit ducked. We need to figure out a proper setting so that it's nicely
that
working.
I'm equally loud, that would make sense.
And that you could play a little bit on the keyboard, and everything would come together, basically. But this button is basically important so that if Farzad just wants to play you something without talking on top of that, it's important that the audio is muted so that we don't have crosstalk here and you get a plain feed from the DW. So this would be kind of the working setup. So in other words, we have access to your ideas and Farzad can play on top of that. So it would definitely make sense if you add the tempo to the song.
Definitely.
So
key and stuff I can find myself.
And key. If
you want to, you can do that. It shouldn't be a problem.
A little head arrangement would be useful, but for guys who probably are not equipped with that background, it's not necessarily needed.
No. But stems would be really nice because, for instance, if you have the chorus, I could cut it away, and the chorus is amazing.
Throw it out.
No, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
I'm really curious that you guys will nail it, but you get my point. I can just cut everything else away or mute it or something, make it in sections, because that's how songwriting works, basically. You will first of all find the sections that you have. How long is the intro? You know what Max Martin says. Don't wait more than 35 seconds to introduce the first chorus, because then it's too late. It's not catchy anymore. Something like that. Those kind of techniques I would show you, and then I could mute that, And most of the time the bass relationship is as well. So if you could give me 4 stems or something from the instrumental or the playback, and if you have 4 stems, sometimes people write songs with guitars, then everything will be fine. And then the a cappella, that would be amazing, because then I can work on that. just mute it and see if I come up with a melody in the verses, if it fits better to the chorus that you have, if the chorus is better, if that fits better to the verses you have, and so forth and so forth. I think that would be probably better, because otherwise it's so hard for you to you know, acknowledge it and then just like get it into you. Otherwise, then listening and seeing the replay, I want you to be there live as well. And it's easier if I can mute the verses, I sing on top, then you can have an imagination. If I go from there into the chorus that you wrote, then all of a sudden, okay, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. Otherwise, I have to like unmute it and stuff. And,
any other questions here?
Yeah, throw them out.
Prize. We're gonna have an introduction prize. So the prize will be, the original prize will be something for something.
4-5 or something, yeah.
And an introduction prize will be 3K, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so you're gonna get, for the 3K, you're gonna get, I mean, the first day you get 90 minutes, then a half an hour pause.
So it's basically 3 hours each session. It's 11 sessions, to make a long story short. But the idea is also that you learn from the other sessions.
Yes.
And it's simply, it's like brain massage, learning how to deal with situations and how to creatively find solutions to get things working. So it's also a thing which requires training. I mean, it's when you do it again and again, the more often you do that, the better you get. It's like with everything in the life. And for that reason, through working through multiple songs, you can learn, you can figure out systematics and it's in a certain way repetitive, and repetition is important for learning. So it shouldn't be. It's not the aim that you end up with one great song. It's the aim that you end up with one great song and an idea to create further great songs on your own. So,
that's you get good templates.
Basically it's that. I can teach you everything that I know, and I think you really will learn a lot. So basically, that's the experience that I had, and I never worked on one genre. So that's another handy thing, to be aware of understanding every kind of music. If it's singer-songwriter, like really melodic and storytelling, and on the other hand, the other one. But I have to admit one thing, that the idea is really important from you guys. So that means don't come with nothing and say, okay, Farzad, write me a hit song. Shouldn't be a problem at all. The thing is, then Friedemann gets the credits. See, it doesn't make any sense. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's important. I have to understand you guys as an individual and see where you are, at what stage, and what you're trying to achieve with the music you try to perform or write or something, And that's why your ideas are at least equal important than my ideas. It's always a give and take. If you're on that songwriting camp thing, you know what I'm talking about. There are 10 people sitting.
It's supposed to be a trigger.
Yes. It's always a trigger thing, because otherwise I cannot understand what you want. If I do a pop melody on your singer-songwriter song and you think it's not what I'm talking about. If you perform me something and write something and perform it on the song, it doesn't mean it has to sound good, but I have to get the idea. I understand where your melodic structure and the way of you trying to tell me something, or the people or the universe something with your song. I understand how I should go further, so that it fits together, Just imagine someone doing a run. There is an R&B run, there is also a rock run, where people in the rock music tend to do it like a little bit more, I would say, crescendo-like. It's like, something like that. something like that. But in R&B, it's like it's more like this. you get my point. And then this feeling creates that sort of, am I still in space, in that space or not? You know, that's why we have genres. It's always this fluid, you know. Be water, my friend, as Bruce Lee said. But you get my point. So your ideas are really important.
Yeah. Any final question regarding the format, regarding songwriting, regarding whatever would come up? I mean, we certainly will keep you in the loop, and there will be soon a landing page. Probably it's already there, but just without the video. And yeah, then we can go from there. But if you more
productive than me, but I always feel like it would be. This is a question, or that's something that.
So Bela is asking something. Okay, would you want to read that?
Sure.
I'm perhaps overly paranoid, and I'm sure Farzad doesn't need my song ideas, as he's way more productive than me. Yes, but I always feel like it would be like giving away my deepest secrets.
Yeah.
The only thing that can bring me some money in the future is always a copyright-related anxiety.
Yeah, gotcha.
I understand that when it's about sharing, this is sharing any of my musical ideas in music-related communities. Yeah. What do you think about this in general? Yeah. By the way, I only have unfinished songs, maybe 200, so I have nothing on SoundCloud, and even if they were finished, I would hesitate putting them up to SoundCloud. So
yeah, gotcha.
One thing first. So I would strongly want to encourage you to finish songs. So it's the same with finishing mixes. It's the same with finishing songs. It's important to finish things and to say goodbye. It's like releasing a baby kind of thing. And just by finishing songs and getting to the next and finishing that, you have the ability to realize your progress as a songwriter when you look back. Oh, this I've done 1 year ago, and look, now I'm way ahead of that, and I have further developed myself. So this is important. One other thing is fear is a bad consultant in general, and one thing to take the fear away could probably be, my lawyer always said, listen, when you're afraid, put your damn song into an envelope and send it to me or send it to yourself with, in German it's called Einschreiben, so with a approval that you have received that on a specific timestamp, and then don't open it. Just label it from the outside correctly, that you know this envelope is with this song, that song, and that envelope. So in case you get in trouble, you can go to your save and pull out all the envelopes and see, okay, this song is from that date, and you can go to a notary, open that, and he would give you you have the proof that is your song idea. And this, I mean, most likely you probably won't need that, but sometimes, yeah, I know, I mean, music industry is like a shark pool, but sometimes it may appear when you go to very, very famous people, then there are famous assholes and famous beautiful people, and when you go to a famous asshole, it may become his copyright all of a sudden, and if he's generous, he would probably give you 10%, and he would really blunt and say that into your face, either go with nothing or I give you 10%. I know such people.
Yeah, me too.
And I find it awful, but it's how it is. And one other general thing before I just take the chance to be able to say something.
No worry, don't worry. I have to say something as well. So you will not. It's not your
I
last
also want to say something.
Yeah, I know.
So,
yeah, don't worry.
So one general thing, I mean, this is more like a German thing. At least I think that, probably I'm wrong. So what I find here in Germany, the lower the level of the songwriters, so the more beginners they are, basically, the more afraid they are about sharing things and losing copyrights, etc. So the more professional songwriters are, I mean, look at the professional songwriter landscape. So usually there are songwriter pools, there are songwriter meetings, and the majority of songwriters, or all the songwriters I know, they meet with other songwriters and they sit together for 3 days and they spill out probably 8 songs in those 3 days or 10. And before they start, they make a simple agreement. So 1, 2, 3, everybody's getting a third. Bam, ready. So you need to be simple on that. You need to be ahead of that, straightforward before you start collaborating with people. And keep it simple, and you can write it on a beer tub thing, like this. It's fine. Keep it simple. Paper. And the more unprofessional people are, the more complicated it gets. And sometimes, no, this was my song, I want to have 100%, but I wrote the lyrics, I made the hook line, so what about making 50-50? No, it's my song. So this is why we are straightforward and say this song idea, no matter what input comes from the side, from Farzad's side, it will still be your song. So we are not interested. We need to make a cut here between being a songwriter, making money with songwriting, and being an educational thing and doing education. So this is straightforward education, no copyrights. And as said, no strings attached. And I think everybody, presenting songs when we are a group of people is like putting off your trousers. It's like what we do in the mixing seminars. It's what we do in the mastering seminars. It's part of the game. So we are in a group. We need to have trust with to each other, and usually we have quite a very nice. We have some guys here who have attended seminars, so please confirm. It's always quite trusted, nice atmosphere, right?
I want to say something as well, because it's really beautiful.
Something as well.
That's crazy, isn't it? I don't want him to have the last word. So Bela, I totally understand. I can really relate to you, my brother. The thing is that I see it from a different perspective. Okay, not to bash this beautiful guy here to my left, but what I mean by that is when I started to do songwriting as well, and I had a big portfolio of songs, it was always the fear of having one particular song that's basically that new song that I wrote was always the best. And I want to cite Kevin Costner, who said in an interview, who said, like, writers who write movies always think that the last thing they wrote is their best work. And that's the same thing for songwriting. So, for instance, we had tracks that we did for Usher, for instance, but just for that visualized Usher. I don't know Usher, in this folder. And whenever there was a really hit potential in there, I always had the feeling that I will never get another song that sounds equally as good as this. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you. And it got better and better and better and better. And sometimes, what is better? You have to ask the right question to see what better is. But when it comes of people picking it and saying, that's my song, I want that, I will pay you money for that. Okay? That's what I mean by better. That's a perspective thing. And all of a sudden, I was in a situation that I thought, okay, when I can do it one time, I can do it 2 times. You wrote that you did it 200 times. It will be the 201st time, second time, and so forth and so forth. So my perspective changed a little bit. But I totally can relate to you on that one, that this is always that fear. First of all, that the striptease that you do by providing that most like intense thing, especially if you're one guy with a story, telling stories, you know, having something from the outside that touches you and putting that into a story. And if it's personal, it's even more problematic. I had the situation that one guy who is really big in Germany, for instance, I just want to make it a little bit beautiful for you, you know, because you really wrote some things out of your mind and out of your inner circle. I'm really thankful for that you wrote it that way. And there was this guy who visited us in a hotel room, and he said he's a singer and he's one of the biggest. He has one of the biggest hits ever in Germany. And he said, "Okay, Farzi, put out your songs. Tell me what you have. Sit on that piano and play that for me, or just play it on the CD player or something." And I played every song that was in my mind that I thought is the best song for him. And all of a sudden he said, "No, that's, yeah." You know that when the Americans say something like, "You're absolutely amazing," that means I never call you back. You know, you have to understand what I mean by that. Okay, I don't want to bash Americans. I have a lot of American family in the United States. It's not racist, you know. You're absolutely amazing. They will never call you back. So, but to go to the finish line of the story is this guy. Then one of my friends who was in the hotel room as well with me said, "Play that personal song of yours, because of the sister of your wife dying of cancer with the age of 33 years, leaving 2 little kids behind, you know, and a husband who is not knowing what, you know, people might say men can do what women can, but no, they can't. The faster you learn that, the better for you, you know? That's the thing. Everybody who has a mama knows what I'm talking about. So that's the other thing. And then I played that personal song. I was crying while playing it. And he was standing up out of his chair and said, "That's the song. That's the song. I want this one." So whenever you think that you give everything that you have in your inner circle, sometimes there is something there that needs to be told. And then I could make this line, you know, because at that time I couldn't sleep properly. I was crying a lot when I was alone, not letting the children see that. Because if someone who you love is so young at age and dies of cancer or something, that is not a nice topic here right now, but it fits to that what you wrote. I can really feel the lyrics that you wrote here, that it really grabs you, otherwise you wouldn't write it. So I wanted to be intimate with you as well and tell you a story that is really personal to me. So don't be afraid, my man. There will be a next one. I'm telling you. So now I'm finished. I had the last word. Thank you so much. Now back to the funny part. No, I'm just thank you.
Yeah. I would call for a possible last question. 1, 2. And if there's no last question, I would happily say goodbye. And we are under 1.5 hours. Yay! So
it was a pleasure.
This is what we wanted to be. It was a pleasure to see you guys again. It was a pleasure to see you, Rod. You're going to join us soon, right?
It's very possible. I appreciate the time and good information. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Sooner or later, see you again.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah.
Have a nice one.
It was great.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
welcome.
We appreciate it a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, all right.